What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Restoration Rundown Podcast, the podcast that's dedicated to you, the restoration business owner. My name is Ben Riccardi from Ironclad Restoration Marketing, and I'm the author of the No BS Guide to Internet Marketing for Restoration Contractors. Now, the Restoration Rundown is your source for everything related to managing and owning your restoration business, from bringing on special guests and sharing success stories to taking deep dives with our team here at Ironclad Restoration Marketing into all of the online channels that you need to be tapping into to get visibility for your restoration business and get more leads from the internet. We've got you covered. So buckle up and get ready for the rundown. All right, what's happening, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. I am very excited. I don't know if you're excited, but I'm excited to have another really great episode here coming up. We've got a great guest, somebody that's been on the show before, is a friend of the show, friend of Ironclad. Just ran into him at the Experience Conference in Punta Gorda. If you missed it, you missed out. They're really changing things up over here at BNP and R&R Magazine with the Experience Conferences. They're getting better and better. So I was really happy to be there and run into this gentleman. Listen, I wanted to bring this guy on, one, because when you're talking about the restoration industry, when you're talking about franchise and you're talking about building, growing, scaling businesses, there's not many people out there that have done it from a grassroots, from the boots on the ground, done from, scaled from soup to nuts and done everything the way this gentleman has. In fact, he's built and sold he's built over 12 businesses, but sold 12 businesses very successfully, mind you. So I think that he's going to be able to bring a lot of value for everybody out there when it comes to creating an exit plan. Let's face it, there's some statistics out there. There's an old episode, I think like episode 50. I think we're at like 105 right now, where we had a gentleman from Restoration Brokers of America, and he gave me a statistic that blew my mind. It was something over 80% of businesses never hand them down to family. So all you guys out there and ladies out there that are thinking, hey, one day I'm going to hand this down to my kid, they're going to take it over, you are in the minority if they actually turns out. So what we want to do is we want to talk about what your exit plan is today. So today I want to introduce my friend, business tycoon here in the world. He's actually getting ready and starting up, and he's been really rolling in one of the fastest growing, really cool bolt-on franchises of the restoration world here. You've probably seen him around. He's been making the rounds everywhere. I think he's going to be more recognizable than his logo pretty soon. But anyways, without further ado, I want you to join me in welcoming Mr. Rocky from One Tom Plumber here. Rocky, how's it going, man?
What's up, brother? Man, you'll have to excuse the mess in the background. I'm here helping open up the Hawaii office, the Honolulu branch, and they still haven't got everything up and going. But, that's just the kind of person I am. I just want to come in and help my franchisees get up and going, and took a little special care for Hawaii. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, I'm like, they're like, well, we need some help. And I'm like, I got it. I'm on my way. Yeah. So
yeah, I guess comparing the weather in Ohio to Hawaii, it's a good. Get over there, get a little sweat equity into the location. And it seems like every time I talk to you, we're sitting at another HQ of another spot you're opening. So congratulations on all the success from One Tom. And I definitely want to talk about that moving forward. But in case anybody lives under a rock, they don't know who you are. They didn't tune in. We had you on for a really good episode a few months back now, just kind of giving you the blueprint, everybody the blueprint of giving a little bit about your journey without going too far into the weeds. Why don't you just introduce yourself to everybody out there that might have missed that episode, and then we're going to get into some stuff here that I think is going to really help out our listeners.
All right, I'm Rocky Hensley. I'm the CEO of One Tom Plumber. The name is the phone number, and we're a bolt-on franchise to the restoration industry. And the reason why I say bolt-on is because it just sold September 20th, my restoration business of 20 years. And now this is my focus. This is what I'm doing, and I'm just out there trying to help my restoration brothers build business, generational wealth, get into the commercial space, and move it forward. I love the restoration industry. I miss the hands-on, so I'm trying to stay as in tune as possible with it. And you were right about the RIA. It was honestly the best one they've had so far. Yeah. The experience, we almost didn't go because they used to not be as great as they were. This was by far the best one I've seen in a really long time. Good job, guys.
Yeah, and shout out to Kayla McGowan. She's taken over as editor-in-chief. I know she had a really strong hand in how this went. So I'm excited. Vegas is coming up in September. I'm pretty sure we're going to be out there. I'll definitely be speaking in Vegas if they'll have me. I looking forward to it. So yeah, no, I agree. Shout out Kayla if you're listening to this. You did a killer job out there. If I didn't tell you enough while we were out on the
really
team. And Michael, Darlene, the Balzanos, man, great event. I saw a huge difference. My expectations were low. Punta Gorda is like a sleepy little beach town that's been decimated by hurricanes the last couple of years. But they're only a 2-hour hop from me from my office over here in West Palm Beach. By the way, if you did visit Punta Gorda and you've never been to South Florida, you probably were looking at some of the uglier beaches down here. West Palm Beach is like a tropical paradise, like where Rocky's hanging out right now in Honolulu. So, Rocky, I know that, I'm taking away from the Honolulu time. I know you got a lot going on, but I want to talk to you a little bit about Icon. When we were on last time, it was literally like the day or 2 days after you closed. It wasn't something you were looking to sell. But like I alluded to in the beginning of the show before I brought you on, a lot of people I think they get their head in the sand, they get their head they're in the weeds. They're building their business, they're growing their business, they're doing the day-to-day, and they don't think, by the time a lot of these guys pop their heads out of the weeds, they're in their 60s, their 70s, and there's no end in sight. They don't have an exit plan on how to sell the business. And I've got family members that have done that, built and sold, built businesses with every intention of handing it down to the boys or their girls. And I can't think of a time that it's worked out just in my little personal circle. And I talked about that statistic. It was like 85% of these businesses don't get handed down. So ideally, we have an issue, right? We need to have help out other people, create some sort of exit plan. And I think that, part of the reason that you're here today, and one of the biggest reasons is I think you've got this down to a blueprinted science, especially where you're already on number 12. I'm sure this is not the last one. You're a young guy. I think that what I'd like to do today is talk a little bit about what people can do, what you do specifically, to prepare a business for sale. I loved your talk you did at the experience. I learned a lot. Love the lion mentality video. In fact, I played it for myself before I went to jiu-jitsu and wrestled with people for 2 hours last night. And it made a difference. I showed it to my football team. I coach a young kids football team. My son's 10. Coach their football team. I showed it to them, and we've been undefeated since then. So I love it. I love everything you got going on with the culture. So I'm going to turn it over to you. But yeah, I want to talk a little bit about building and selling businesses and how to set yourself up for success and exiting.
Well, we, like you said, we've got it down to a system.
Yes.
No matter whether it's the solar business, the recycling business, I own 3 of the 1-800 pack out businesses, Cincinnati, Columbus, and Louisville. It's literally, it's about systemizing everything. And if you can go into it, it's really 3 words. It's culture, it's systems, and it's profitability. And everybody knows profitability, but what they fail to do, in my opinion, where I see it most common, is they don't talk about profitability with their employees, and they don't bring it in. And like even our plumbing company, we own 4 of the franchises. Every single one of our technicians, every truck is its own little profit center. And we talk to each one of them all the way down to them that, what they're bringing in, what they're making profit wise, and so on and so forth. And we preach, you cannot have the best equipment, the best trucks, the best uniforms, the best of everything if we're not the most profitable. Right. And so we champion that cause. And even though it's the third thing, it's the most profitable thing, or the most important thing. Sorry. Because you can't have a great culture without profit. You can't have great systems and great equipment and great, without profit. So, now we don't tell them the overall piece. That's where I think some people make mistakes. We only talk about profit as it pertains to them and how they affect profit. And I keep it down. I keep it very simple. The one thing they control is their time and what they spend on a specific job. Yeah. Like, a lot of people, in my opinion, clutter it with there's a bucket this and a bucket of that and a bucket blah, blah, blah. But the one thing they control is how quickly they get jobs done, the quality of what they get jobs done, and how much they spent to get that job done. And so those are really the 3 KPIs that we put in place for pretty much everybody, as far as that goes. And then a great mentor once told me, and I'll never forget it, and he was one of those mentors, kind of like you a little bit, Benjamin, like where they just don't care about hurting your feelings. Like, he would call me a dumbass. He's like, well, you dumbass, why would you do this? And I'd be like, I don't know. It just seemed like the right thing to do, And he hammered this into me. He'd say, there's 2 reasons, and 2 reasons only you have a problem in your business. I'd be, well, that's easy. And he'd say, you don't have a system. And then when you create a system, I wasn't holding everyone accountable to the system. And once I started holding everyone accountable, you hold most people, there's some people you kind of let go early on because you think, well, if I lose him, or he's this, or he's doing this, he's doing 90% of his job properly, and I'm just willing to let the other 10% go. Well, once you start holding him 100% accountable, he would always say he's going to get going, or he needs to get going. You know what I'm saying? So I hold everyone to the system completely. Now, we always have meetings where we're making the system constantly better, constantly better. And what he also taught me is when you're building that system, get them involved. If you create a system and you just walk into a room one day, I mean, how would this go over with you, Ben? If you just said, hey, Ben, this is the way I want you to do everything. Okay. You'd be like, well, you know, but if I sit down with you and go, Ben, here's where we're at, here's where we need to go. What do you think we need to do? What systems do we need to put in place to get to here? And then once you give me that system and we work it out together, then I get to hold you accountable, more accountable to it, because you input it. And then culture. I mean, it's so simple. And everybody's like, oh, culture this and culture that. It's such an overused term. We're not talking about holding hands and singing Kumbaya and, you know, things like that. We're talking about, do you have a hustle culture? Do you have a am I my brother's keeper culture? When a truck pulls up, does everybody, you know, if you're sitting there, go out and help them get their truck reorganized. Everybody does it together. Are you a profit culture? Are you a quality oriented culture? And are you a do it right culture? Those are our 5 things. And we just focus on those 3 things, you know, and then 5 things that seems to take care of itself, you know. And we'd ask people all the time, do you fit these? These are our 5 things, you know, do you fit those? You know, then you're part of the problem, part of the solution. You can't be, you're one or the other. And part of the problem, they just need to go away. And then we pay 20% more than anyone else, because if I got a rock star, they can go explore the market. They can go explore going somewhere else, but financially they won't be able to. But if they want to go somewhere else, the grass is greener, more power to them. You know, as an adult, you know, we want them to have those options. We want them to have those things because we need them to be there. But what I've learned is if you have a team of rock stars, they don't want to leave. And if you hold everyone accountable to the same standard, they don't want to leave. They love that. It's only when you hold people to different standards is when people want to leave, because you get those rock stars going, why the hell am I doing this? Why the hell am I working so hard when you just let this guy do whatever he wants, you know? And once you start doing that and you hold everyone to that standard, now it's hard. Everybody's like, well, I might lose that guy. Yeah. Sometimes you got to take a step backwards to take 4 forwards, man. You know, put your big boy panties on and get it done. Don't let, you know, so it's really those 3 things, and just creating a system and having your people help you create that system, because then they're more accountable to it when they help you create it, and they come up with better ideas than you more often than not. Because here's the bottom line. If you want to sell your company for the most value, don't be working in your company. PE companies and other companies want to buy companies that they can tell the owner, see you, wouldn't want to be you. And when I sold Icon, I sold it for a 7 multiple, 8 figures. That's all I'm allowed to tell you because of the PE company. They're very strict. But here's the thing. I gave them 2 days and 4 lunches. And they absolutely were okay with that because they wanted me gone. They wanted to bring in their own people. They wanted to bring in, now they wanted 90 days. And then, you know, and by the time it was all said and done, they realized that I was the most irrelevant person there. If anything, I was in the way. And when you're the least important person in your company, it sells for a lot more.
And I think let's take a step back, because there's a few things that you went over now. Excuse me. Be the least important person in your company. I remember that specifically from your speech at the experience. I mean, and that's great. For the guys out there that are like, oh, come on, like get rid of my guys. I can tell you from experience, I've got a site development company, and we do make those exceptions for people, right? You've got this guy, he's kills it all the time, but the truck looks like crap every time they come back, or whatever the case may be. Let's talk to those guys out there. One thing you said, it's addition by subtraction, right? I liken it. You said take a step back to take 4 forward. I like to talk about it like standing on the letter J. And you're down here on the bottom where that J starts. You got to jump down to that bottom, which is going to be scary, but eventually you're going to go up as high as you need to go. So talk to some guys out there that might be in that. I would imagine like the majority of people are in a situation where they're making exceptions. There's an old football coach. I don't remember who it was, but he was old. He said, I think it might've been the guy from the Giants, an old guy, but he said something. If you start making exceptions, you're going to have a team full of exceptions, right? So we have a system, we have a prototype of what we want in the company, and that's what we need to stick with, and that's it.
Yep.
Talk to the guys out there that might be maybe some advice that you gave, because I know you and I have seen very similar. I saw myself in you as far as that goes. Because I remember you talked about getting rid of the rocket boosters, right? And we can talk about that a little bit, merging this where you went in and the rocket booster you were trying to let go because they were the exception, walked out with a raise, and you had to find somebody else to get there. So for the guys that might be afraid to lose a guy, give us some little insight in that, maybe some practical steps that they can take to make that work for them and get rid of that. It's
a great question, and I'll give you a couple of. But I'm big on phrases, and you almost hit right on a phrase that I say regularly. But if you stop making exceptions, you'll get exceptional employees.
Like that.
Stop making exceptions, and you'll start getting exceptional employees, because it's so motivating knowing that you're not going to let everybody get away with it. But I'll give you a quick speech that I've done a million times, and I train my guys to do, and I'll give you the short version, and everybody here listen up, okay? But I set expectations, and my guys have set expectations where I only promise them 3 things. 1, it's going to be the best work environment I can possibly create for them. 2, I'm going to give them the best equipment, the best tools, as long as they help me get the most profit. And then 3, their paycheck's never going to bounce. That's all I really promise the employee. And if somebody is only doing 90% or 75%, but they're doing that 75 or 90%, amazing, right? I mean, it's like, just get them over the hump. So I'll sit down and talk to them, and Ben, I'll talk to you, and I'll just give you the short version. But Ben, here's all the things I promised you, is these 3 things, right? The 3 things I just mentioned. Here's your, what do you call it? All the responsibilities that you're supposed to do, including keeping your truck clean every single week, for a truck inspection, so on and so forth. So which part of my 3 things do I not have to do anymore? And people, they're always going to look at you dumbfounded. And you go, well, no relationship, amazing relationships last if both sides aren't getting what they want. Okay. This is what I want. This is what I offered. I'm keeping my side. So pick one of those 3 things that I don't have to do anymore. Okay. And then they'll pause, and it's just for reaction. And then what I'll do is I'll go, hey, Ben, I'm going to give you Thursday and Friday off this week. I'm going to pay you for those days. I want you to go interview. I want you to just go out, interview. I'm going to pay you to interview, because here's the thing. If you don't start doing these, you can't live in this world. You can't live here. Okay. So I want the best of you, Ben. I think the world of you as a human being and a person, but at the same time, this business doesn't accept people who aren't doing 100%. I'm going to give you 100%. I expect 100%. So go see what you can do. Go see what you can find. Let me know on Friday whether you're staying or going. And it wakes them up. Now, some people will still backpedal, and I'll be absolutely, when they come back on Friday, I'll say, Ben, I just need you to understand, if you start backpedaling, there's going to be no more notice. I'm not going to pay you again to go find another job. We're going to shake hands and part friends. We're winners. I want a team of winners, and winners win. Okay. So do you want to be a winner, or do you want to be somebody who just does 90%? Because if you're the 90% guy, you just can't live in my world.
Yeah, that's great. I appreciate that insight. And I think a couple things came to mind there. So I think with the proper systems, I'm sure even saying that, a lot of guys are scared, right? They don't want to lose that guy because they're living in this chaos mode, right? They're nothing systemized. They're chasing checks. They're going in, their procurement. They're helping too much because they've got too many 70, 80%ers out there. So they're running their ass off. They're out in the field. They're picking up equipment. They're checking jobs. They're PMing things. They're constantly picking up gaps. So for anybody scared out there, systematizing these things and setting your standards, probably the most important step to take when it goes there. So having that conversation, which I think is great, by the way. I mean, I've been jotting notes down this whole time. What is your experience as far as how well it works, right? I mean, I'm sure there's times where guys are like, F this, I'm out of here, I'm going to go. And then you are hard. I know the story you told me about the guy that needed to go to his sister's birthday or something like that. And you're like, look, you want to be here Monday, you're going to get your truck clean, then you can go to the birthday. What's your success rate on that working versus not working?
It mostly almost always works, especially if somebody is at that level. But at the same time, though, one of the things that I think is really important for guys is to divisionalize. I want to take a step backwards, because the one thing that people don't do is they have one person or two people that are rock stars doing way too much. Okay.
Yeah.
And they need to divisionalize. And I know that everybody's like, oh, I'm like $1.5 million company. Absolutely. It's okay. So you can have one person running 2 or 3 divisions, but one person should be responsible for every single part of your business. Whether it's your receptionist, she's responsible for this piece of your business. Whether it's your controller, they're responsible for this. They understand what the roles and responsibilities are. Whether it's your water, you got to have a lead water technician, and they're in charge of your equipment. They're in charge of this, because too often people are sharing trucks. Everybody has their own vehicle that they're responsible for, because then when something goes wrong, they can't just point fingers at other people. Oh, well, the equipment's missing because Timmy took my truck. No, so divisionalize. And the other thing is to go to people that that are successful, like whether it's Ben's place or my place, or Jim from Teasdale Fenton will bring you in, and you got to go and see how people are doing things and how they're running their system, and get pieces from different people, and use the what do they say, that use your best takeaways and institute it in your business. Take what works, put it in your business, but divisionalize, because once you start divisionalizing, nobody can point the finger at someone else. There's always a person that's responsibility for every piece of your business from the top down, or the beginning, which is the receptionist. Bring her in, make that her department. Answering the phone is your department, period. Yeah. And we would even do training once a month to where we listen to her calls. No, I wouldn't do it, but I had someone doing that. In this case, it was my controller. I didn't really have someone managing a receptionist, so I gave it to my controller. I said, hey, Barbie, you were in charge of Tammy and how she's doing things, and training her up and listening to her phone calls, and so on and so forth. So every person is responsible for every piece of your business in some way, shape, or form. And then my job was to make sure Barbie was doing her job. Yeah.
I think you made a comment, but you guys are implementing EOS, right? No, in one time. Yeah, that's killer. Anybody out there not familiar with the entrepreneurial operating system, the EOS, Gino Wickman, highly recommend it, because a lot of this stuff is going to help you get yourself out of the business and be the least important person. Everybody I know that implements EOS, I think they visit their office maybe twice every months.
I'll make one more point to everybody too. And everybody's like, oh, it's so easy for you to say that. Yeah, it's easy to say it, but that's why I'm telling you, go visit. It's nothing. Telling people on a podcast is, it's great. You can write notes down and stuff like that, but give up a day and go and ask someone to shut down for a day and show you their whole organization, and then bring them in and do the same. Because even people who are more successful, as far as whatever you quantify as more successful, love to come and see your shop. I guarantee you, me personally, I'd come and get 2 takeaways. I guarantee you, you're doing something at least 2 things better than what I'm doing, and I'll take those back and make my company better. So trade days with other people and get takeaways. Here's one more piece of advice. The very first time that I did this, we walked away. Me and my wife actually went to Pedro's place. I think it's PDR Restoration, which is a $10 million water job in LA. And we had 20 lists, 20 things. Nothing ever got done. Then we went to Dave Fajitas in New Jersey, and on the plane we said, we're going to do these 3 things. And again, we had a list of 20. All 3 of those things got done. Nothing more. So do 2 or 3 things. And if you want to add more later on, but don't get caught up in the 20 things. Just make 2 or 3 things your priority and do it better. But listening to podcasts will make you better. You definitely want to take ideas and suggestions away, but nothing's going to make you better than going out, spending a day, seeing how they're doing things, and even take some of your key people with you so that they can see it. It becomes real to them, and then take it back and use it. The best thing that I ever did as a company was go see other companies and see how they were doing things. And I would do that every year, sometimes twice a year up until COVID. So when you came to Icon and you saw what we were doing, I mean, we were doing $7.5 million and we were filing taxes. And I always say filing taxes because you can't argue with me. I can show you. We were filing taxes on close to $2 million, and that was because most of what you'll see, I would say 90% of it, came from other places that I saw what they were doing, and I would get 2 or 3 takeaways, and then I'd come back and make Icon better and better and better based on other people giving up a day and me giving up a day when they would come in. And even as simple as how you categorize things in QuickBooks and how you look at things in QuickBooks. You'd be amazed at how many little tricks and leaky buckets I found once I started looking at it like other people looked at it, and even verticals. You're making X amount, 62% in this vertical. I'm going to start trying that, and then I would dump some of the 40%ers, because I just didn't have the bandwidth to do both. Well, we became a lot more profitable because we're dropping the 40s and 50s and hanging on to the 60% verticals. So you'd be amazed. Just take the time, take the day. And everybody's like, oh, I just don't have time. You don't have the time not to do it. Okay. If you want to be successful, you make the time. And the other advice I'd give someone too is when you're ready to really get your business going, work from your kitchen table for 1 month. No matter what happens, don't go into your business. You'd be amazed at how people step up, how everybody gets in line. Everybody finds their bandwidth, and literally you're still running the business. You're still talking to them every day. It's the hardest thing probably you'll ever do, but do 1 month from your kitchen table. Do not enter your business for a month. You'll be surprised at how you can get in the helicopter after that and start running it from a helicopter, not in the day-to-day and not in the weeds.
Yeah, I think you touched base on a lot of stuff there, man. I really appreciate that answer.
Sorry about that. If I got a little too preachy, I apologize, man. I'm so passionate. It's just been so good for me and my business, and all the people, all the mentors that have helped me, and all the people that have shut their businesses down for a day to spend time with me. Yeah. And I would do the same for anybody out there listening. As long as I can come, because whether it's restoration or it's widgets or solar or anything else, businesses are businesses, man. They're just sales organizations and systemized sales organizations. I always tell everybody in every meeting that we ever had, or most of them, I'd say, hey, we're not a restoration business. We're a sales organization that does restoration.
Yes.
Our service that we're selling is restoration. And you focus on, making the phone ring, everything goes better.
Sales solves all.
Sales solves all.
Your passion definitely comes through, Rocky. That's why I love having you on here, man. I know that we're gonna preach, man. That's what this is for. Listen, at the end of the day, I told you pre-show, I've got a couple different businesses. I'm in a construction space. We've got this digital marketing agency. We help restoration contractors get more leads online by, cutting out the BS. And here's what you need to do. And one of the things that I firmly believe in is having a giver's gain mentality. I don't know if anybody's ever been in BNI, that's the big thing with them, but I believe it. I believe in cultivating a culture of awareness and knowledge and data. And these guys can make better informed decisions instead of just making decisions like I do sometimes, where you're just busting through the wall like a Kool-Aid man, hoping it works out. So by listening to guys like you, hopefully by listening to this podcast, or when I meet you in person, like all we're trying to do at the end of the day is shorten the learning curve. You should be leaning on mentors. That's something personally. I'm going into the 42nd year on this planet. So one of my things here is I'm seeking out mentorship, whether that's spiritual stuff, business stuff, and hopefully get somebody that we can combine that together. You should be looking at peers, and a lot of guys out there, a lot of ladies out there are looking at their fellow restorers in their 60-mile radius as competition. They want nothing to do with each other. One of the things in my TED talk that I do when I travel around is a big part, yes, we're digital marketing focused, but a big part of that is being involved in associations, in whether it's a local, regional, or the big ones, RIA, or being going to the experience. There's so much stuff you can learn, and forget the site visits to other companies. Just having a drink with somebody, talking about business. How's things going in Dallas? That's where I'm at. I'm having a hell of a time getting leads, from whatever. It's invaluable. So the taking it to the next level and just reaching out and saying, I need to come by there and see what you guys are doing is going to pay dividends. And you're the proof, right? You've been doing it for a long time. COVID put a little damper in that, but you've offered to do it at everybody, and you're still there. You don't need to be doing it, but you're always optimizing. So the optimization of your systems is going to be crucial once you develop those systems in place. And I guess, the systems is going to be big. I wrote an article for R&R, or CNR actually, about systems-based goals. Everybody has goals, right? We got goals. We want to make money, but it's the systems that are the catalysts that are going to get you to the end of the day, right? Both
100%.
You look at two football teams, they each have a goal to win. And it's the ones that are practicing, they're systemizing, they know what's going on. They're the ones, they're not staring at the scoreboard. They're looking at what they've got in front of them, celebrating the little wins and moving on and optimizing. They're the ones that are going to be the best ones at the end of the day.
And when you said something too, and I think it's super important, I always have a mentor. There's times when I can't, I don't, but even right now, I'm sitting here professing myself because I've built and sold 12 businesses. Philip Schramm, who owns Buffalo Rings and Wings, is my mentor in the franchising space. He even came to our last EOS meeting just to meet our team and stuff. So that he could advise me even more, so you never stop getting mentors. The other thing is too, don't keep a mentor too long. After about a year and 3 or 4 meetings, that mentor probably isn't going to bring too much to the table. So rotate mentors out. They're okay with that because they only want to mentor you when they're bringing something to the table. I only want to mentor people now when I'm still bringing something to the table. I tell people, look, dude, you need to find another mentor. I've helped you as much as I can. This is what I'm good at. I feel like I got you there. Go get someone who's a little bit better on the QuickBooks side, or go get someone who's a little bit better on the operations side, that's going to bring value to the table. So don't be afraid to rotate those mentors out. Keep them as friends, no question.
Sure.
But mentors are amazing because they have struggled. They have worked their way through it. And just like you said, just like all of us, there's nobody that started a business that it wasn't cluttery. It wasn't screwed up. They put up with people they shouldn't have put up with. If they tell you that they didn't, they get away from them because they're not honest or credible. We've all struggled. We've all had to figure this thing out. And we've all had to talk to other people. Like I said, my mentor, the reason he was so brutally honest with me is because I was literally trying to sell him on why my way was better. And this is someone who, was 100 millionaire. And he's like, dude, you're selling a salesman, and I'm not buying. I see what you're doing. I've been through it. I've been exactly where you are. Listen to me and I'll get you over the hump. And I'd be like, okay, you're right. I'm trying to, and part of it is too, because you just don't want people to think that you don't know what the hell you're doing. Most of the time, especially when you're first getting started, if you're not divisionalized, if you don't have a system, if you're putting up with people that you shouldn't be putting up with, I call them rocket boosters, that you should be shedding once they get you to a certain level. Right. You have to have a mentor that's not afraid to tell you, hey, dumbass, let this person go. They're hurting your business. If a mentor won't do that to you, they're not really a mentor. You need people. My mom always used to say, people who like you tell you what you want to hear. People who care about you tell you what you need to hear. Yeah. You want mentors who care about you and aren't afraid to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
And I think a lot of people struggle. I can say this personally and struggle with the mentorship situation. And we're going to get really philosophical about this, but it's hard to look in the mirror sometimes, right? A lot of times you already know that you're making exceptions. You already know. You just don't need somebody else to tell you because people are afraid to put the work in to do it the right way and really get there. So you've got to be, look in the mirror. It's a parallel that goes across any type of success in your life, whether it's work or spiritual or anything you're going to do. Is you got to be able to look in the mirror, and that's really hard to do. Sometimes I'd walk right by, and then you go listen to podcasts like this, or we go to the experience. We listen to guys tell us what we already know, and you feel real good, and you make a real big long list, but you're never going to do the work to rip that Band-Aid off and do things right. So if you feel like that's you and you're listening to this, get a mentor, not Rocky, because I'm claiming him now after this podcast. He's going to be my new mentor for a little while. I have a feeling that I could use him for a few years now, not just like a temporary one with him using his mentors, and it's a good trickle down effect. But realistically, with all kidding aside, you got to do it. I know it's like looking in the mirror and it's hard, but most of the stuff here, we're 105 episodes into this or so. It's all stuff you probably already know that you need to be doing. And a lot of you guys, I'm a contractor by trade. I know it's a lot easier to just get out there in the field, put your head down, keep your head in the sand, keep working, and ignore those problems. And then look at the bottom line when you're doing taxes and be like, why aren't we making any money? Why haven't we grown? Why is this Jack that's my competition who's terrible? Why are they killing us right now online? And just people just don't want to hear what they need to hear. It's dude, you go to a personal trainer at the gym. Why do they exist? Because people don't want to hear that you got to stop eating like a pig and you got to move more outside, right? And move more, eat less. It's not that hard, but to do it is difficult. I love to eat. So it's
hire that person for accountability. Get your ass to the gym. And once you're there, you need someone to push you. Yeah. I just, when I was young and I had mentors, I wanted them to come in and for them to tell me, man, you're the most amazing businessman ever. And the fact of the matter was that I wasn't. And two, you don't want them telling you that. You want them telling you, dude, you're doing this okay. So set this aside. You don't want your mentor sitting there telling you, oh, this is great. This is great. What you need your mentor telling you is, why are you in this vertical? Why are you doing this? And then justify it. And then there's several times where a mentor would be like, wow, that's great. How'd you figure that out? I might start doing that, but that's rare, but it does happen. So put your ego aside and just throw yourself. I always call it pulling my pants down and throwing myself on the desk. Okay. And that's maybe a little bit over exaggeration, but that's what I call it, because it's not fun. It's going to be painful, but at the end of the day, you're going to be a better company. You're going to be a better leader. You're going to be a better person. You're going to have better systems. You're going to make more money if you're willing to just put your ego aside and tell them what is wrong, what you're struggling with, and see how they can help you do it. Okay. And it doesn't even have to be a mentor. It could be, that's the one thing I love about our One Tom Plumber franchisees. We're building a network. We get these peer groups where we put 5 to 6 franchisees together, and they help each other with the restoration business. They'll get together. I did it. We did it in Pittsburgh because we own 4 of the franchises. As a franchisee, I want to see how we could get better. And we would literally take 3 hours, strip each person's business down and tell them what they need to fix. And we had to have 5 to 7 takeaways that the next time we meet, we have to show them how we fix those things. Yeah. And so they're not mentors, they're equals. But they're still we're holding each other accountable. Yep. We were listening to each other's calls. We were looking at each other's books. Yep. We didn't look at what was right. We looked at what we needed to fix. And so get some peers that are and do the same thing. It doesn't have to be just about mentors. You'd be amazed at how your peers are really good at things, and you're really good at things, and you guys just come together and help each other. But most of what I've done right is listen to other people and brought in people that were smarter than me to run the day-to-day of the business. And because, I openly say I'm only good at 3 things and 3 things only. And I'm horrible at everything else. So my job is to hire people at what I'm horrible at and what I'm not good at, and then replace myself once I get big enough at the things that I'm good at. That should be the last person you hire to take your place, is the things that you're good at. That's just some Rocky advice.
No, I love it. I think you need it. There's so many business coaching. If you're, in a Christian world, there's C12. It's a great organization. I mean, they are looking in your books. And at the end of the day, you need people that you've got to want to be held accountable. You need people that are not going to be afraid to hold you accountable and tell you what you need to hear. If that's anything you take away from us rapping about this, and this is everything in your life, and you need those people. You call them your foxhole friends, right? The people that are going to help you get to where you're going to get. They're going to, and mostly hold you accountable, but you need to be able and willing to be held accountable. You can't ask, because you're going to screw yourself. You get some guys together and then you say, listen, when I start doing this, or if I'm not, next time we meet, if I don't have it here, that's where I need you to hold me accountable. When they do, and they call you out on it, and you catch an attitude, and you run the other direction, you're never going to get anywhere. So you got to be able to and willing to be held accountable if you're going to move anywhere in any direction. So look, we could talk for hours on this. We've gone a little bit all over the place, which I love about this. I think this is going to listen. Everybody knows that listens to this podcast. It's like having a conversation. So you're listening in to Rocky and I having a whiskey and a cigar. We're just like as far apart in the United States as you could possibly get. I think I'm in South Florida. He's in Hawaii right now, but this is something that I think is going to be invaluable. So hopefully you guys took away a little bit out of that. I want to switch gears.
Sure.
We talked about Icon. Preparing for the sale boils down to 3: the culture, your systems, your profitability. All of those things are going to play into each other. And that's a really cool way to simplify getting your business set up to maximize your return and what you're going to sell it for. You know that you're not handing it down to the next guy. It's just probably not going to happen. And if it did, great. You're setting them up with something that's a little bit more scalable. And at the end of the day, maybe they can sell it one day. So One Tom Plumber. Last time you were on, we talked about how you built the brand, which I love. Again, I'm going to have you on again to talk about some of this stuff because some of the stories we've shared off air about how you came up with the brand and everything like that are funny as hell. And I think people will get a lot out of it. I think a lot of people miss the branding aspect. I know from our end on the digital marketing side, there's a lot brand has to do with your search engine optimization, with conversions when it comes to getting those leads to your website. And a lot of people miss the buck. I don't want to go crazy into brand right now, but I do want to talk about One Tom because one of the other things that I want people to get out of this is some actionable things. Now, there's a lot of guys out there, ladies involved, included too. So if I guys, I'm talking about ladies too. You're guys as well. You're all guys to me. So I'll stop having to say and ladies every time I say and guys. So they're looking to buy into franchises. Now, from an agency owner perspective, I get a lot of phone calls. So we've worked with franchisors, right, to help their franchisees get more sales. But it seems from our experience that a lot of them really don't care about the success of their franchisees, which seems insane to me because if I was starting a franchise, I would want them to hit the ground running and make as much money as possible to sell more franchises. Well, the latter seems to be the case. So there's a lot of issues from a marketing perspective, culture perspective, when it comes to buying or getting into a franchise. I wanted you to talk a little bit to the people out there that are thinking about getting into a franchise, maybe some things to look out for, some things to avoid. We'll put the mentor hat on for a minute and spend a little bit of time in that world here to talk to them about it. And then maybe we can couple that up with some things that they can do for their due diligence to look into franchises. And again, we know One Tom, where you're at, why you're growing so fast. We know how great you guys are, but I want to talk to the people out there that are considering it from your experience, because you've built and sold a bunch of franchises now, and you're also a franchisee. So I want to teach them a little something here, because I see a lot of guys just put their net worth into something and their 6 months runway runs out, and now they're in crisis mode where we're shutting the doors. We don't have a dime for marketing, and we don't know what we're doing.
Well, I can tell you, we tell everybody, just start with this. You go into this, and the reason that we, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, we tell everybody that part of the reason that we love being a bolt-on is because people already have a business that's paying the rent, paying their mortgage, taking care of their lifestyle. We're a bolt-on because we want to make your restoration company better. But the other thing is too, if you really want to build this thing right, don't take a penny for 2 years, because the whole point of it is to grow. And then once you get across that 2-year mark, we really believe that's when you start, building something that's going to provide, like you said, generational wealth, literally. That's right. Because you're just adding, it's what buys the boats and the vacations and the trips and hopefully the plane one day, et cetera.
Well, to pause you for a second, I think too, what people miss is their why, right? They don't know why the hell they're even starting a business in the first place. So really nail that down, and this will help lean into where you're going with this.
Right. Yeah. And the why for us is we wanted to get into commercial water damage. We wanted to eliminate the insurance companies, and the commercial does that because they're, if it's not $100,000 to $125,000 water damage, then the insurance companies don't get involved. Yeah. So rarely are the insurance companies involved. The other thing is too, we were averaging about $28,000 a commercial job and about $4,800 on the residential side. And 80% of our business was commercial. But the $27,000, $28,000 commercial job is actually easier than a $5,000 residential. And I'll explain why real quick, because this was our why. Because it's just big open space. You might have to move a desk or two if it's a warehouse. They're just so much easier, where on the residential side, you're moving everything, and every box is Aunt Maggie's vase that she got from the Egyptian pharaohs or something,
right.
And in every scratch that's 20 years old, you did when you moved the couch 5 feet, So the commercial space was just way better. And we used one Tom Plummer, the plumber whose name is his number, to get into these commercial accounts. And once we got in, we realized that the reason plumbers don't have salespeople is because as long as you do a good job, they keep using the plumbing company. So then we immediately went over and talked about Icon and how amazing Icon was. And so One Tom Plumber was our way in the door. But not only that, it started providing us a lot of water damage to the restoration piece. The second thing is, the year of our January 1st, the year of our Lord 2019, we cut off all TPAs. And so really the why was commercial water damage and less dependency on TPAs. And once we started, and then literally 4 years later, I was selling the business for more money than I ever thought. And we didn't do any TPAs, and we were 80% commercial, and I wasn't involved. So it just became so easy. Now, keep in mind too, the plumbing side, a plumbing company is harder to start than a restoration company. And I'll tell you what I mean. Technically, if you get a van, 4 DHUs, and 12 blowers, you're a restoration company.
Yep.
It's an over exaggeration to make a point, but you get my point. Okay. And then as a restoration company grows, it's just chaos grows. That's what that's why I love the restoration business, because we were just organizing chaos. It just goes to my personality, and I loved moving it forward. A plumbing company, on the other hand, is super hard to start, because you got to convince all these plumbers who've been doing it a certain way that you're now part of a sales organization that happens to do plumbing, and it's all got to be done systemized. Okay. Now, once you do that, and you start, the system going, and you get the right people, and you get these rock stars, a plumbing company is so easy to grow, because all you're doing is just adding pieces to the system. I couldn't get over how easy it was to scale a plumbing company. We this is our 6th year, and we'll probably end up with 15 million a year in plumbing. And I hate to say this, but the plumbing company is actually more profitable by percentage than the restoration piece. Yeah. And that doesn't even include all the business that I'm getting from the plumbing company to the restoration piece. So, but that's also, that just explains why we're 4 years old, and we're about to sign our 100th franchise, around the country. Now add to that, the why was, what I realized in the restoration business was that unless you're a part of a franchise, there was no networking at all. So one of the things that we wanted to do with One Tom Plumber and the brand was to bring in all these guys across the country that network with each other, that help each other, kind of like what I was talking about, where we just did a peer group, because the One Tom Plumber is doing great, love it. And keep in mind, this is all with a 42% turn down rate.
Yeah,
if you're not going to build the system and build it properly and realize that it's a sales company that's doing plumbing, then this isn't for everybody, But having said that, it's all designed to help restoration. We don't sell to anybody that's not in the restoration business, because at the end of the day, I love the restoration business. That's why Cameron, my son, and I built this thing literally across the country. And now we're in Canada, so we get to say we're an international company. It sounds way cooler than it is. We kid around and say Canada's California North, because, man, it was hard. Getting Canada was so hard. But at the end of the day, those guys, they do it the same way we do it, So we're just trying to create a network and a platform that truly helps the restoration industry by getting them into the commercial water space and less dependency on TPA, and hopefully start building some generational wealth for these guys.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Rocky. And I didn't mean to take you away from the original question, but I thought it was important because I love that you gave me your why. But I think a lot of people out there starting businesses, they just want to start a business. And I think when you mentioned like, hey, if you want to build generational wealth and you want to do that, that might be somebody's why, right? I've got a family, got my son, my daughter now. I got a new daughter. I want to build that for them. That my why. When I'm thinking when rubber hits the road and shit hits the fan, that's what I can lean back on to push through those hard times. It's not all candies and nuts. It's going to be tough. It's not easy to do. It's not easy to sit down and get rid of your rock star guy. It's not easy to do any of the things that you're talking about here. So we don't want to undersell it, but I appreciate you sharing that why. So for the guys, to go back to the original here, for the guys that are thinking about getting into a franchise, what are some of the things that they need to look out for when they're making their choice to make sure that they don't end up in, I mean, I've talked to so many, it's astounding, that are just blowing their entire life savings, buying into a place and getting screwed, not screwed per se, but just maybe have mismanaged expectations. A lot of the common reasons we fail at things as human beings, they just don't do their due diligence. So I'd like to, as we're wrapping up here, I'd like to give you like 3 common problems you see in that world, and then maybe what some things that people can consider to do to maybe help them, shorten the learning curve and maybe reaffirm they're doing the right thing.
All right, awesome. Thanks for bringing me back. I'm a colossal sidetracker, so I appreciate that. Man, more than you know, I get on these tangents, but just 3 quick things. One is call the other franchisees. Okay, they're going to give you a list of people they have to by law. Call those people and see what they like the most and see what they like the least. Because at the end of the day, what you're buying into is a brand and a system. Okay, and is the brand really working? And 2, the system, are they helping you? Are you getting support? And I'll give you a great example of 1-800 Pack-Out franchises that I own 3 of them. I ended up getting a great name, great colors, and a little bit of a system, but I got no support. Love the guys, but no support at all. So I had to figure it out. Okay, so make sure that you're getting support from those guys. There's constant training, or that you have opportunity to get new people trained up, because it's just impossible for you to always train those guys.
Yeah.
And 2, make sure it's something that's complementary to something else you're doing. I really believe that so many people get sidetracked on franchising because they'll have 2 vertical businesses and they're not really working together. And to me, it's like putting 1 foot on the boat and 1 foot on the dock. It may work for a while, but sooner or later the storm's coming in and you're going to end up in the water. So make sure, in my opinion, that the 2 businesses go hand in hand. And third, make sure that it's something that you can build and eventually one day sell, or like you said, pass off to your kids. Because what happens is I see if there's a limit to it, like I saw this one franchise that's doing really well, but they put pots in windows, outside businesses and stuff like that. And they're selling franchises like crazy, but it's only going to get so big. It's not something that, you can make some money along the way. And if that's what you want, that's a great franchise. But in my opinion, make sure it's something that's scalable to as big as you want it to go. And then one day, there's nothing, trust me on this, there's nothing like getting that big check. It's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It's the best feeling in the world. I mean, you miss the people, you miss the business, but man, that check, it makes it all better. You know what I'm saying? So in my opinion, make sure that they're going to give you support. Make sure that it's a great system that you can build something of value. And third, that in my opinion, that you got a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And talk to the franchisees. Make sure you talk to the franchisees. Just don't buy what they're selling without talking to their customers.
Yeah, that's awesome insight, man. And I hate it. I hate talking to people. We've done marketing for across the board and they either don't have control to do anything from a digital marketing perspective on corporate, or corporate just doesn't seem to care too much. It seems like One Tom's a little bit different than that, just based off our conversation today. We're not endorsed by One Tom at all, but I'm going to tell you, I'm going to keep it real with everybody. Like I like to do. I don't hold back. The name of my book and my presentation is the No BS Guide. They're doing it right. I've seen a little bit of what they're doing. I mean, and their growth is just a testament to that. So if you are thinking about getting a franchise, at least talk to some other franchisees. you have to understand there's huge companies out there that franchisors pay to sell their franchises, and they'll sell you a lot of golden, the golden or the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, but they don't tell you that you've got to trudge through the valley in the shadow of death before you get there and climb a mountain. It's, hey, you're step 1, sign up with us. Step 2, you're going to be a millionaire. It's not the way it works. You want to look out for a few things from a digital marketing. If I can lend to Rocky's advice there, just make sure they have a track for digital marketing, how you're going to get visibility in your territory. They should be managing your expectations. Any new business that's starting off with a new URL, or even if you're using corporate URL, you're not going to rank well in organic search for at least 3 to 6 to 8 months sometimes. So make sure you've got a budget and a runway to run Google Ads, Google LSA. You're managing Google Business Profile, and make sure you've got enough runway and your marketing budget to handle that. Don't treat your digital marketing agency as the last ditch effort to save your life savings that you pumped into this business that you thought was just going to make you rich instantly. That's another to call back to what we talked about before. Get involved in associations, get some peer groups together, get a mentor, and really vet these franchises out. So as we're wrapping up, we're about an hour in almost, and I think we could spend 90 hours talking about this stuff, because not only do you have a wealth of knowledge, I think we get along pretty well here, and I think people like listening to what you've got to say. I want to thank you, but if anybody is considering, they want to learn more about One Tom, if they have a business, they want to bolt on to this plumbing franchise, how do they get in touch with you guys?
That's a great question. And then just onetompplumber.com and hit the franchising button. Okay. And we'll reach it out to you, or you can reach directly out to me, which is Rocky at tom.com, and send me an email. Tell me what you're interested in, and I'll get you to the right person. Or if you just want to come in, let's say you're not interested in One Tom at all, but you'd love to. One of the things that I negotiated in is that with a 24-hour notice, I can walk anybody I want through restoration, the restoration company, Icon Property Rescue. So I still give tours. I still bring people through. Even if you're not interested in One Tom, let me repeat, you're welcome to come in and tour the restoration piece. And I'll be happy to sit down and spend some time with you and put you in front of the people that really make the decisions every day to help your restoration company get better. Happy to do it. I want to pay it forward that way. I do want to say, though, keep in mind, it's all about sales. And let me say this, and I want to do a shameless plug for Ironclad. And again, we're not affiliated with each other than we're sitting here talking.
That's right.
But I see so many restorations or restorers focused on the operation side, and that's great. You want great customer service, but in my opinion, that's a horrible mistake, because you can mess up someone's house, you can mess up someone's furniture, you can mess up your trucks. There's so many ways you can mess up. You can never mess up sales. You have to make the phone ring. Sales fixes all. The rest of it you can fix along the way. Make that customer happy the best you can and move on. As long as the phone's ringing, that's why people like Ben and Ironclad are so important. Like, I just focus on sales, and everything else will fix itself. I promise you.
Yeah, I appreciate that plug, man. And it's true. Mark Cuban said it. He's a billionaire. Sales solves everything. Sell first, and you work it. And you got to remember too, like you mentioned, everybody in your company is a vested interest. I firmly believe every single person that represents your brand is a salesperson for your brand, right?
That has to be.
The person that answers the phone, to the call center if you're using a call center, your AI tools if you're being lazy. Everybody is a salesperson for your business, because there is no such thing as a magic pill for anything that you do unless you got a headache. And they call that ibuprofen, and it only works for a little while. So make sure that you need that. Yeah, I know, man. I'll tell you what, we ought to get on here on Sundays and I'll start preaching a little bit more. But I know that you're a real busy guy, man. You're in Hawaii. I'm sure you can't think of anything to do while you're out there opening up another franchise in Honolulu. I want to know how long you're going to be there, because that site visit sounded really good looking at Hawaii right now. I might come out there and visit you guys here when I get some time. Anyways, as usual, listen, I've got your URLs scrolling on the bottom. So I know we got a lot of people that listen to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We have some people that watch it on YouTube as well. So I threw the links to the One Tom Plumber website and then the 1tpfranchise.com URL you mentioned before, guys. If you're listening to this on Spotify and you want to get those links, go ahead and just check it out on YouTube at this timestamp around 59 minutes. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. More so, Rocky, thank you so much for your time, man. I know you're a busy guy. I know every single time you've been on here, I think you've given people a lot of invaluable content, and I want to continue to build that relationship with us. And I'm not kidding about the mentorship thing, man. We'll be in touch. We're going to get some hunting done this fall too, I think.
Absolutely. Well, appreciate you, Ben. Everybody out there, go hard. You know, it's war. Commerce is war. Fight that battle and win. Be a winner.
Be the lion, not the gazelle, right?
Be the lion. Yep.
Appreciate you, Rocky. Hey, we'll talk to you next time.
On the jungle. Hey. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, sir. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you for tuning in. Listen, if you guys are planning on attending RIA, Ironclad Restoration Marketing, we'll be there live. All the team, some of the team is going to be present, working the booth. We've got some cool giveaways. We're going to be doing live website and digital marketing audits. There's no strings attached. My team members are going to be dedicated to showing you what you might be doing, what you're doing right, what you might be doing wrong. We're going to have a lot of fun out there. But if you want to meet me or meet some of the team you might have talked to over the years, we will be there, booth 902, April 28th, 29th, and the 30th, right here in our backyard in West Palm Beach. That's it for today's episode. I want to thank Rocky and One Tom Plumber for their time. I hope you guys got a lot out of this. We'll talk to you next time.